I have been working on a big project. In this video, I thought I would share a bit of my process. Here I am warping my loom. I'm using linen thread to make a fabric for a garment. It had to be of specific color combinations. I searched, but I could not find fabric with these specific colors to purchase, so I have to make the fabric myself, and it had to be made with linen thread. Initially, the threads are slipped between the slots on the reed. I use my hook to pull the threads through the slot, 2 threads per slot. Later, I will separate them, and you'll see that. Warping the loom does take a bit of time to do. My loom is attached to the table with a clamp. I'm using 2 colors in the warp. A 3rd color will be woven in. My table was not quite long enough for the length I needed, so I extended my table space by adding a folding table to the end of my table. My warping peg is positioned on the opposite side of the loom in the center of the warp. Each time that I have to start a new color, I tie off the previous color thread and then tie on the new color. With this particular warping, I will get 2 sections of the garment woven. After the initial warping is done, I release the clamp that is holding the loom in place, and then I insert paper as I begin to roll up the project. The paper will prevent my threads from getting tangled with each other. I bought a roll of brown package wrap, and I cut it to the width of my loom. Then I roll up my warping threads. I do not cut the looped ends from the warping peg yet, because I need to transfer my loom to the place where I will be doing the weaving, in a room where I can close the door, keeping my cats away from the project. I begin to separate the 2 threads. I only cut 1 loop at a time. Every other thread goes into the holes in the center of the reed, leaving a single thread in each slot. So there's a thread in a slot, and then a hole, slot, hole, slot, hole. You get the idea. When the reed is in the up position, the top, it picks up all of the threads that are in the hole, and it creates a shed, a space to put our shuttle in right there. Once I have 4 threads separated, I tie that bundle onto the warping stick. You can do more than 4, but I wanted smaller gaps at the beginning of my weave. Everything is tied on, the tension is even, but what you can see is that I have these gaps here. I have inserted 4 of my strips to take up some of this gap that we're seeing. There's still a little bit of a gap, but I am going to start weaving. These spacers help take up some of the gap that appears due to the tied bundles. When I first started, I tied more threads to a bundle, but I found that gave me large gaps. Now I use less threads per bundle. You live and learn, right? To keep everything even, I tie 1 bundle on both the left and the right, as you can see here. If you take the time to warp and tie on your threads with care, it will make a difference on how your project turns out. I like to say, a job worth doing is worth doing well. And when you do a good job, you will find great satisfaction seeing your project through to its finish. I adjust my tension, and then I'm ready to begin weaving. The cardboard spacers can also be used when you want to do an open weave pattern or to separate different parts of your fabric. After weaving several rows, I do a hem stitch at the very beginning, which ensures that my fabric will not unravel after I remove it from the loom. I also use the hem stitch on both sides of an open weave. I will share more details about how to do the hem stitch shortly. Be patient. I do find weaving a very relaxing activity. I usually listen to something like a podcast while I work. That way, I am being productive with my hands and not just sitting listening to something. It helps to occupy my mind while I'm doing something repetitive. Sometimes I think about other projects I want to weave once I get this project out of my way. I use an ordinary comb, hair comb, to beat my threads together. I wanted to create this open weave pattern, so I left a gap here. I had this in here while I was weaving, and then I pulled it out, and then I did a hem stitch along this side and a hem stitch along this side. Observe that when I did the hem stitch, each section has 3 strings, so it's creating bundles, and I made sure that it matched the top and bottom, so that gave me these gaps here. Now what I'm doing is this stitch here, and I'll show you how I'm creating that. Okay, 1, 2, 3 bundles. My needle is underneath those 3 because I want my thread behind. My thread is behind those 3. See? Now I want to go over the top, over top of this line here, under the first, over the second. I want to come out on the bottom. I do not want to come out on the top. I need to come out through the bottom. That way my thread will be making a loop. Oops, somehow I missed it. It has to come through the loop. Okay, that way it creates a knot. Okay, go under the next 3, over the top, under, over, under. I want to make sure we come out through the loop. My open weave, I wanted to incorporate some gold. So I'm starting in the middle here, and I'm putting these gold sort of medallions around my intersection where I've gathered these posts, I guess you could say. When I get done this, I will come back and I'm going to do some gold stitching along here and along here. Let me show you how I'm doing this stitch. So to start off, I am going under, over, under, over the center, under, over, oops, over each section, over, under, over, and I do want to go over the top here, over the crossbar. I'm just kind of going round and round with my color. Under, over, under, and always going over both of the bars on both sides. Under, over, under, and I just keep going around until I have the medallion the size that I want it to be. Because I wanted, towards the bottom of my skirt, I wanted to have some gold accent. So I'm trying to do something special right along this edge. The rest of it would just be a regular woven, a regular weave. Because the piece that I'm working on has to have the colors that I'm weaving. It had to have some gold. Could not get linen in gold, and so I wanted something shiny, metallic like gold, and I had to incorporate even just a little bit of gold. I didn't need much, but just a little bit. Okay, I'm just about finished this one. Now as I come around to this side, I am done the medallion. I'm going to go over this, and then I'm going to come up through the middle on the right side of the center of the medallion. Sometimes it's just easier to come up from the bottom. Okay, come up through the middle. It helps to secure this thread there, and then I just cross over to the middle and come down on the other side. Now here I just want to sort of rotate it around the thread and the bar, the crossbar, just 2 or 3 times, just to go from one medallion to the next, so that there's a little bit of gold running across there. And then I start making my next medallion. I haven't told you yet what this project is that I'm working on. It is sort of a, well, it's not a secret, but I didn't want to reveal it just yet. It's actually quite a big project. This is just one part of many to the whole project. And this is kind of one of the really important parts of the whole thing. So I wanted it to be kind of special. But I had to have some gold. And this is not linen. It's a synthetic type of a thread. But it has the glimmer and shine that I want. So, because I wanted to have some sort of fancy design, some sort of needlework. It's a little, I don't know if it's considered broderie, but it's definitely needlework. Just one extra special little element. I just want to say that I'm no expert weaver, but I am a good student. As I encounter challenges, I look for ways to make improvements. With every project, there is an opportunity to learn new things. And I like to share the things that I learn so that it might help others as they are learning new skills too. This is the reed that came with the loom. It is 7.5 pieces iron. Now compare that to this. I bought this one because with linen I wanted it much closer. And this is 15 dpi. That means dense per inch. But with thinner thread, I wanted them a lot closer together. So this would be great for working with yarns. But with linen, I needed something a little bit finer. You can purchase shuttles at varying lengths. It did come with one this length that goes with the 36-inch loom that I have. I purchased this one a little bit smaller, and I think I got this with a, I don't know, it was a kit with a comb or something. And it was useful for doing the sash that I needed to weave. So because I was working with 3 colors, I definitely needed 3. This one's a little short, but I made it work. The loom comes with this hook and it works, but my cats got a hold of it and they lost it and I couldn't find it. So I bought me this, and I really like this. I like this hook much better. And another tool that you can buy is a pickup stick, which could be useful when you want to do fancy stitches, which I have not got to yet. That's a future. I want to experiment and play with a smaller project. Here I am checking my pattern to make sure that this weave that I'm doing matches the same as the previous fabric, because I plan to join the 2 pieces together and I want them to match up perfectly. The shuttle passes through the shed. After I beat the thread down to get my threads close together, I change the position of the reed, alternating between the top and the bottom position for each passing of the shuttle. That's what creates your weave. This here is at the end of a section of fabric. When I finish a portion of the fabric, I finish it off with a hem stitch that holds my threads in place before I begin a new section. Again, that will prevent the fabric from unraveling when I cut it from the loom, but I won't cut it off yet until I am done using up the entire warping threads. So I will go on and begin the next section. Now I will share the details on how to do the hem stitch, which can be used at the beginning and the ending of a project. I also use it on both sides of an open weave, which I have already shown you. I separate 3 stitches and slip my needle in on the diagonal going down 2 rows and pull it up. Then my needle goes under the 3 stitches on the outermost part. I make sure that my needle comes through the loop to secure the bundle. Here is a good view from underneath. I separate 3 stitches and slip my needle in on the diagonal. Then my needle goes under the 3 stitches on the outermost part. I make sure that my needle comes through the loop to secure the bundle. Now I will show you the same stitch from the top view. The view you'd be looking at when you're doing a diagonal stitch. I am zoomed in close so you should be able to see what I'm doing. Then my needle goes under the 3 stitches on the outermost part. Make sure that my needle comes through the loop to secure the bundle. Oops, I forgot to go inside that loop. Here I am slipping in a couple of spacers to make a break between the 2 fabric sections so I can continue weaving without having to whoop all over again. Sorry, but I'm not ready to show the entire finished garment yet until I have given it to the person whom I'm making it for. I want him to have the first look of it in person before I share it with the world. It is done. Got it all finished off on the edge. So it's time. When the weaving is complete, the fabric can be cut. I want a fringe for parts of my project. Since I did the hem stitch, I know it will not unravel. Other parts of my garment will not have fringe, but will have sewn edges. Now, all that's left are these strings. And this kind of gets wasted. Use that for the next time. I have the finished fabric. I also have paper in it. I put in these spacers to separate the 2 pieces of fabric. This is going to be for one portion of the garment, and that's for the other portion of the garment. So right here, I will separate the 2. So I have this piece, which matches this piece, so that I actually have 2 of them. So those 2 pieces are done. And then this, let's see. And now we cut off this part. The fabric is all done. Let's see, how long do I want that? This part is done. I have to make one more of these. So now I just have these little strings to remove. This last part had an extra long warp, but it's very narrow. This will make up the sash that ties and create the back straps for the ephod. Now I just kind of told you what I'm making. Now, do you know what I'm making? If you know your Bible, if you know your Old Testament, you probably do know what I'm making. The onyx stone will go on the shoulder. There's one for the left and one for the right. I didn't want to take it out of the back because I don't want to get them mixed up because it's written in Latin. It's got the names of the tribes on it. This is the Urim and Thummim that will be in a pocket behind the breastplate. It'll be so that it is over the heart of the priest when he's wearing the ephod. On this piece of fabric, I wanted to have the gold spaced this far apart because I will be putting stones on in it. I wanted each band the same length so that the stones will look nice in alignment. So I actually did weave gold thread and it weaved okay. Better than I thought it would. Each stone is engraved in Latin of the name of one of the 12 tribes, and they have a particular place where they go, particular order, and I want to get it right. Here's the rest of the stones. I hate to take them out of the bag because until I'm ready to glue them on, because I don't want to make a mistake and put the wrong stone in the wrong place. So I'm leaving them in the bags. I only took out this one here just so I could see what it's going to look like. But I have all the parts ready. It's time to put the garment together. Here's the other parts of the garment. A bell and a pomegranate and a bell and a pomegranate. Now these are little plastic pomegranates that I used the same threads of the ephod to go around the pomegranates. And I just kind of left a tassel at the bottom. I just received this band. It's engraved with the Latin characters. In English, it says, "Holiness to the Lord." That's the last piece of the garment to make.